First you must learn to pull the oar, then you may take the helm. Lucius Cornelius Sola.
Today we're going to go ahead and change both fuel filters and the oil filter, and do an oil change in the engine and the transfer case. First thing we have to do is start the motor up to let the oil heat up a little bit so we can suck it out.
That's the stuff.
Today we're using the SureFlow portable oil changing system to change the oil in the engine. We can't use a drip pan like we normally do in a vehicle or in a car because it sits too low to the bottom of the engine well. So we have to pump it out through the oil dipstick. And we'll go ahead and show you that now. When you feed the tube in, you want to make sure that you get it all the way down at the bottom of the pan so that you can suck out most of the oil. And then with this model, you just turn on the switch and hopefully we'll see it pumping.
How often should you change your oil filter?
So you should change your Yanmar engine oil filter every 250 hours or every year. I already changed it once in the spring. I'm going to change it again for the fall, but consult your engine manual for your recommendations. As you can see here on the bottom of the oil filter, I've included the date and the engine hours and permanent marker so that next time, if I forget when I changed it, I can just look at this and know when I changed it. Alright, so one thing you can do to help drain the oil out of the oil filter to where it doesn't get all over the place is I have a funnel here with a water bottle underneath of it to catch the oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my punch and hammer and just put a hole right in the oil filter, twist it to where that lines up with the funnel, punch another hole in it, that'll allow the oil to drain right out. Alright, so we have the old filter here. We'll go ahead and drop that in the box that the new filter came in. And these filters come with a plastic cover. And normally I would put a little bit of oil on the seal here, but these come pre-oiled. So now you just have to clean off the engine where the oil filter mounts to, and then screw it right on. And if you just get it hand tight, it will make it a whole lot easier to pull off next time. Alright, we're going to use the Shell Rotella 15 weight 40 oil. That's what the Yanmar 2GM calls for. It should take about 2 quarts, so we'll fill it up to about 1 3/4 quart and then check it. And if it looks good, we'll run the engine for a little bit, check it again and make sure it's full. And changing the oil in the gear case is simple. There's no filter or anything. You have the yellow filler port and dipstick here. So you'll pull that out. We'll use our SureFlow pump to pull out all the oil, and we will fill it back in. The gear case only takes 1/3 of 30 weight oil, 1/3 of a quart of 30 weight oil, so it's not very much. So we'll put a little bit in there and check it to make sure we don't overfill it. Alright, so now we're going to replace the fuel filters here and here, and we're going to bleed the engine today. Every time you replace the fuel filters, you get air in the lines and you have to bleed the engine. So the first thing we got to do is get the fuel out of the fuel filters.
Remember to shut off your fuel at the tank at the fuel shutoff valve. Otherwise, when you crack open your fuel filters, fuel may still be going everywhere.
The secondary filter is located here on the bulkhead of the engine compartment. I got a cut water bottle. I'm going to place it underneath the drain for that. And then we're going to drain the fuel. Alright, and most of the fuel has stopped coming out now, so we'll go ahead and put the plug back in. And move on to draining the next filter. Now for the primary fuel filter is located right here. It has a ring on it. Like in my previous video, we just tap that to start it unscrewing it. The entire canister comes off. There's no drain on it, so if you can pull it off kind of smooth, you won't drop too much oil or too much fuel. And the fuel filter element itself sticks up in there. So you just kind of got to pull that down with the fuel filter. So if you see the inside of that, there is just a little bit of sediment in there, and we will go ahead and clean that out today. For the secondary filter, we'll go ahead and remove this with the oil filter wrench. Secondary fuel filter is actually two pieces. You have a water separator, and then the actual filter is just this element on top. So once you screw it off the mount to the boat, unscrew it from here, and then you can see that's where the fuel water sits. And then when you drain the water out, that's where you would drain the water out. Alright, now that we have the new filter ready to go on, I have the seal in there for the bottom, the seal for the top, and we'll screw these back together before we put it on. Got that hand tight, and we'll see if that leaks when we're done. Now we'll put the primary fuel filter back on. Again, we got the seal around the outside there, and then the actual filter element will pop up. Get that seated first. Alright, now we're ready to start bleeding the system. Alright, there are two ways to pump fuel through the engine to bleed it. One of the ways is by manually pumping the fuel pump, which is back here. Another way is to pull up the decompression levers and then turn over the engine. When you do this, you want to make sure that the raw water intake is turned off, because if you are turning over the engine and the raw water intake is on, you could water lock your engine because all the water will go into it and not go out because the engine's not actually running. So manually pumping it takes quite a while, so we're going to have Lisa go up and turn the engine over while I have the decompression levers off. Alright, when you're bleeding your engine, the fuel is going to come up through the secondary fuel filter here first. You have a vent screw here. The fuel travels down through the fuel pump, which is located right about there. And then it transfers up to the primary fuel filter, which is right here. And then you have bleed screws on top. Once you get a solid flow of fuel coming out while you're either manually using the fuel pump or have the decompression levers pushed back while somebody else is starting the engine, you wait until you got a steady stream there. And then from there you follow it down. There's another screw right there. You got to get fuel to come out of there in a steady stream, which comes over to your fuel injectors. And then when you have a steady stream at the fuel injectors, you can go ahead, put the decompression levers back so that you can start the engine. And let's see if we can get it started. So today we changed the oil filter, the two fuel filters, bled the engine, also changed the oil in the transfer case, and we used a Phillips and flathead screwdriver, a hammer, oil filter wrench, a 17 and a 16 millimeter box wrench. We used Rotel 1540 weight oil in the engine, and we use 30 weight in the transfer case. That's what the manufacturer for Yanmar recommended, so that's what we do. Make sure you check your owner's manual. We also use the SureFlow portable oil pump to suck out all of the oil today.
If you enjoyed watching this video today, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. We'd love to hear from you with any comments or questions that you may have for us, or any feedback. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day.